Hey folks, evening. How are you all? We got a bunch of folks in here already. It looks like they said there's seven, but the screen says six. I got a special opening for y'all before we go into anything else. So, um, in recognition of our service members who lost their lives in Afghanistan last week, I want to open with this. So let's have a moment of silence as we remember those who lost their lives. Man, that's hard to watch. Um, Thank you all for being here. Hold on a second. Gotta. All right. Let's get this on the road. So just keep all of our military in your hearts, in your thoughts, in your prayers. Even when they're home, they're constantly training, they're constantly going on a mission. So even though they may not be overseas, they're here protecting you every single day. The thing that struck me as I was watching that, and Paula just hit the nail on the head, is these were kids, 20 years old, 21 years old, 22 years old, and they're over there, not questioning what they're doing, just following orders. And we owe them an incredible debt of gratitude. So I wanted to start out with that tonight, just to show a small debt of appreciation. Those who have kind of followed our channel, since the beginning, and many of the ones that are on the live tonight have. We used to do when we first started doing lives, we did about a 10 to 15 minute opening every week of a first responder, military members who were lost in action, Medal of Honor winners, Purple Heart recipients, and then first responders as well. Every day we lose police officers, we lose firefighters all over this great country. I mean, I was watching the national news tonight, and these horrible fires that are out in the Lake Tahoe area of California. Fireman's in intensive care right now. He lost or had over 30% of his body burned for trying to fight that fire. Well, it happens every day, but those stories kind of get lost in the news that catches headlines. And so, just remember them as much as we can each day. Keep them in your prayers, and don't forget that there's unsung heroes everywhere around us. Do what you can to show your appreciation. So appreciate everybody being in here. We got a bunch of folks in here already. We got I think I'm on my own tonight. I don't think Rick's going to be in here, and I don't think LaLa is going to be in here. So if I think Petway and Petway Family Farmstead, so I think James is in here. So if James and Paula Wells can put out the links on people's channels, I would be very appreciative. So Jesus is Lord. Jesus is Lord has been here since I think 6:30. Welcome. Always love and appreciate you stopping in. Petway Family Farmstead, Alicia Hall was in here a little bit early tonight, so Alicia, welcome. Paula, as always. Paula kind of broke my heart this last weekend because of this sea thing that is spreading like wildfire. Paul and Kyle are not going to be heading over here to Florida. So kind of disappointed, but man, do I get it. I get it completely. LaLa and I are kind of we're not going anywhere. I go to my office and it's just me and her, and then I come home, and the only places that I go are there and home. So for most of the day, the closest that I get to another human being is the drive-through window at Chick-fil-A to get my spicy chicken sandwich. So they're not going to be able to come over, but boy, I get it. I'm not, I'm disappointed, but I understand entirely. We were really looking forward to that, but we're gonna make that happen at some point in the future. Hopefully, we will be able to connect with many of the folks that we love kind of going out and meeting the folks that we have kind of built these relationships online. Last year we did several meetups up in Central Georgia. It's how we first met James and Angela Petway and their family. And then they've been down to visit us since then, and Frank and Tina and Walsh Farms and bunches of others. Went up to the Missouri meetup, and then in October, so I guess it's September now, so October next month we're going to be going over to the panhandle of Florida, because they're doing a Gulf Coast meetup over there. And so who else we got in here? We have got Maybe Crazy Homestead, so welcome. Welcome. Tiny Tim Posey says, howdy everybody, welcome. And there's the Crafty Hobbit. That's my daughter out in Washington State. What did you think of that opening, Becca? I don't know if you got in here early enough to see it. Kyle, I appreciate that. I wanted to do something that was going to be memorable, and so that's how I chose to do it. Brenda Baker, welcome. Michael Harris, I hope you're doing well, brother. I don't think that this is private, because Bobby Harris, Michael's wife, put it on Facebook that Michael had a pretty bad case of COVID, and I'm not sure how that's going, but brother, you've been in our prayers, and we hope you're doing well. I know you're back home now, and hope you've kind of you're on the road to a good recovery. Brenda Baker, welcome. Who else we got in here? And then I think I said Alicia Hall. So we got 13 folks in here. So welcome. If I missed you, I'm sorry. Paula and James of Petway Family Farmstead, if you guys can work on the links, I would much appreciate it. So our last video that came out on Monday kind of sprung something that's really kind of been in the works for several months. We just didn't know the timing or anything. So we knew we were getting pigs. Last year, if you would have asked me, I thought at some point in time we were going to be making a run up to West Georgia and getting some grazing pigs from the Petways, and that's still kind of in the plan, but it's not in the plan for this year because we don't have anywhere to put them. So where we are with the pigs is we've got some good friends of the farm, if you will, Turner Farms here in Glen St. Mary. They raise swine, and they go on the national swine circuit to show their pigs. And now they just bred for the very first time their Duroc sow. I think that's what they're called. James, correct me if I'm wrong. We in that video we said that she's due to have babies any day now. Well, here's the spoiler alert. Tune in on Friday and you're going to see some baby piglets. So that is Friday's video. What else we got in here? So Crafty Hobbit says it was a beautiful tribute to fallen brothers and sisters in arms. R.I.P. Devil Dogs and Shipmate. Devil Dogs, that's the Marine Corps, and Shipmate is for the one corpsman who lost his life in that attack. And just, that was particularly tough on Crafty Hobbit. For those who are just maybe coming in, that's my daughter up in Washington State. Her husband is a chief Navy corpsman, and who is a field medic. So he actually served at Camp Lejeune. That's where this hat came from, with the Marine Corps before he was shipped out to San Diego and then back to the Persian Gulf, and now they're up in Washington. So it hit them particularly tough. Hit the entire military family particularly tough. So here I go again. Boone Child, welcome. Welcome. Glad to see you in here. every time I see one of my original kind of YouTube network kind of come into the live, I kind of feel like I got to apologize, Boone, you being one of them, because it's impossible to get to all of these channels that I really, really love. If you guys aren't familiar with Boone Child, Boone does some great gardening videos, but the most unique aspect of Boone's channel is her keto recipes. She can make anything keto, and I've tried several of the recipes, and they're really good. So, you know, a lot of keto recipes that you find online, when you eat them, they're horrible. But I guess Boone must prep these, taste test them herself, and then make videos, because they're all usually very, very good. Duroc, you are correct. Is a female called a sow, James? I'm not into the pig vernacular, but it is a busy time, and again, that's where this is Boone's comment. It's a busy time. It is, and that's, you know, I think I'm working. I think I did 60 hours last week, so it's just I come home 2 hours of kind of rest, and then go back to bed and start all over the next day, and that's what I've been doing. It seems like for 6 months. Just absolutely no time. It's a sow. So maybe Crazy Homestead says yes, it's a sow. So I'm learning. So we're going to be getting 2 little, we think. So these are breeding pigs, or I'm sorry, show pigs that we are getting, and we knew that they were coming. We didn't know when, and she gave birth I think it was last Friday was when she gave birth. It was 13 little piglets. So there's a video coming out of that on Friday. We went over there and caught some video of that, and so the video turned out really well. Little Rick did a great job editing on that. But what it has done is it's really kind of put us on the fast track now to put our front livestock pen together within the next 8 to 10 weeks, because that's when these 2 piglets are coming our direction. So let me share this picture with you. So if you have watched if you watched even some of our videos, what you see on there is this peculiar looking building. When you look at the property from the front looking toward the back, or anyone who's visited here, so James and Rebecca, her Crafty Hobbit, you guys have been here. Obviously my daughter has, but James and Angela, you have as well. When you first come into the driveway, there's the front chicken coop off to the left, and right beside that chicken coop is this peculiar building right here. And I think every person who has visited our farm ultimately ends up asking us what that building's for. And for the past 4 years, I've essentially said it's a livestock shelter, but we didn't know we didn't know the timeline for when it would actually become a functioning building. So the story on this building, it's kind of funny. And in my family, my daughter, I'm so excited for the piggies, bringing back FFA memories. So my daughter, Crafty Hobbit, she showed pigs in FFA when she was in high school. So the backstory on this building, and it's kind of funny, and my family will be able to nod their head in complete agreement because they know how true it is. I'm really kind of a cheapskate, and I really take great pride in negotiating everything. So when I'm buying something and the ticket says it's going to cost me $12.99, it's my personal mission in life to get that for $11 or $10 or $9 or whatever I can. My goal is to get it for less than what they want for it. So when we built our, Paula Well says, I hope you're going to wall up at least 2 sides, if not 3. Keep the rain off when it's a driving storm. Well, Paula, hang in there and you will find out. I'm not gonna spoil it for everybody else. For Paula Wells' personal satisfaction, it's not gonna happen. Abby's Life on the Farm, welcome. So when I had the main pole barn built, that's where the goats are. That's where all of the videos that we film, where you see the goats, where you see the chickens, that's the main pole barn. So when we had that building built, it was a just a pole barn. There was no pens inside of it. So it looked exactly like this, except the footprint on it was 48 foot by 48 foot. Actually, it wasn't. It was 24 foot wide, 48 foot long, with a 12-foot lean-to on both sides, making the total footprint on it 48 by 48. So when the fella come in, Crafty Hobbit, can I name one? Can you name one what? You can name whatever you want to, but I don't know what you're talking about. Hey, Bomber Steve came in. How are you, Steve? So he's on his. So Bomber Steve, about this time, are you on your nightly tea, Steve? Are you on your tea, as they say in Australia? We have lunch breaks in Australia. Apparently, they have teas. Crafty Hobbit, can I name one? I got some without a name. Was that? Oh, Crafty Hobbit's talking about naming one of the piglets. Um, Hello, Paul. Everyone, my chat was frozen. A pig. I figured that out once you said that. Yes, you can, but it's not going to make any difference in the trajectory of the pig. So back to my story. So we had this. We had our large pole barn built, and I negotiated a price, and then I said, okay, here's what I want for that price. I want the pole barn built, and I want two smaller structures built. Now, I had no clue what I didn't have any clue the timeline that we were going to be using these structures. So these structures, this structure on the screen is 4 years old. And I did not know I didn't know when we were going to be using it. I just knew at some point it would be used. So I told the fella, you can build. I'm going to give you. I'm going to sign the contract to have you build the main pole barn, but I want two smaller structures built, and I don't want to pay over $500 for those structures. He laughed and said, "There's no way that I can do that." And but we ended up getting the main pole barn built. I want to say it was they wanted to start. He started like $10,000. I ended up paying for him to build it, for the trusses, the wood, everything. At that point in time, it ended up being like $5,000. Um, and then I got these two buildings. There's two of these on the property, one up in the front and one way back in the back goat pasture that probably no one ever sees. It's actually probably 100 yards behind Rick's house, and that will ultimately be a watering station for the goats, because once the cross fencing is up, then that's going to be basically another shelter out in the field apart from the barn, so we can really subdivide the pastures at that point in time. So that's what that one's for. But this one we knew had a purpose. We just didn't know what or when it would be purposed. Well, here we are 4 years later, and so this is going to be the new pig shelter. So now that I've rambled on about that, so here is, and I would welcome your comments on this. So here's what Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, they got me now.
Okay, you're back.
Sorry about that. All right. So this here, when we look at the side, so this will be on the drawing. This will be the front. This back here is the back. This is the northern side, and this is the southern side here. So going back to the drawing, this is the back. So we will enter from the back of the building. We'll have two pens on either side. It'll have a gate on both ends. So this is actually doubling not only as a pass-through gate, but this will also serve as a catch pen. So when we need to, we can put our scales in here and we can weigh animals. So this will not only be for pigs, it will also be for cattle. We're going to have probably 1 to 2 cows on property, so that we can send at least one a year to the butcher. And then it will also give us 3 to 4 isolation pens for goats. For example, on Friday, this is upcoming Friday, day after tomorrow, LaLa and I are headed up to, people say I'm much better on meatball. That's from Bomber Steve. I don't know. People might say that about me as well, Steve. We're headed up to West Virginia to pick up our 4 bucks from the buck test that I talked about last week. Well, we really have nowhere to put them once we get them back on property, because we've got one of our does in isolation, actually in our dog coop, and then we've got all of our paddocks are full with mating pairs. So until we pull the goats out of their mating pairs, we got nowhere to put more bucks. But we got 4 more coming back. We'll be back Saturday night with 4 more animals. So we're basically just going to leave them on the inside of the barn on concrete until the following week, when we take some of our animals up to the fair. So the following week, 2 of them are going to the fair, and then the week after that, we pull all of them back out of mating pairs. So then we'll have spaces to put animals again. But so this will solve multiple problems that we have. One, we'll have a place for the pigs, we'll have a place for the cows, and we will have a place for to isolate goats when we bring new animals home, or when we just need some extra room. Now, the cool thing with where this building is situated. Now, this has, in front of this building, going up to so this is the front, these 2 posts here, going this way. These are the front, going this way up the yard. This is all really, really thick 5-year-old Bahia grass that Rick mows every 2 weeks religiously, and it's just basically wasted feed that we could be putting into the animals. So once this building is done, which is the reason we can't go up to the petways and get grazing pigs, is this is not fenced yet. So that will be one of our winter projects this year, is getting this entire front paddock that will go from that fence all the way to the chicken coop, all the way up to the front gate, which is probably half to 3/4 of an acre. That will all be the grazing pasture for those animals. So, not a whole lot will be put on it. Probably at most, routinely, we'll have 4 animals on it, probably two cows, 2 pigs, and that will be it. Nunya, Texas on the back 20. Welcome, sir. Welcome. James says, this Petway Family Farmstead, didn't mean to holler, just trying to get your attention, brother. It's hard for me to talk, think, and read at the same time. I'm not a good multitasker. So you can yell at me all you want. Everybody yells at me. I think when I didn't, despite you and Paul and everybody saying no sound, what got my attention was LaLa yelling at me from downstairs, up the stairs, because my daughter from Washington called her and said there's no sound. That's what got my attention ultimately. So it took a call from Washington State to Florida, and then my wife yelling at me up the stairs to get my attention. So that's my life, James. That's my life. So that's kind of where we're at. So here's my question to you all. What do you think of this? Any questions? Any things that you would do differently? So this middle part right here, which is the inside of the existing building, that is basically just going to be a loafing area. This right here is a pass-through. So this will be completely open. So the animals, when they're out in the field, will be able to pass through this catch area or through this gate right here and be able to be in the shade. So to answer your question, Paula, so this will be built out on all four sides, and the roof will be very similar to this. The difference will be is that this rise right here is sharper than what this will be. So this will be supports coming out from the sides. But it'll be probably about 5.5 to 6 feet on the outer edges, and that way I won't have to put too much shade cloth, because the way that this building is oriented is it points directly east-west. So in the morning up until about 11 o'clock, it is direct sun coming in from the back side. And after say 1 o'clock, then it's direct sun for the balance of the day coming in the other side. So there's only about a 2 to 3 hour window in the middle of the day where the sun is really on top of this, and we've got good shade. So there's going to be roof on all four sides of it. So that's kind of the plan. So does that answer your question, Paula? I think it does. If you are pointing on the pics, drawing with your mouse, we cannot see the pointer. Well, that's exactly what I'm doing, James. So I don't know how to do that. I need to come up with a way to point them. So when you look at the posts that are on the left side facing out, that's facing toward the road. So that actually goes, if you follow that pasture all the way out, that will go out to the main road, the main entry. The two on the back, where the little white water pipe is on the back, that goes toward the back of the property, and that faces due east. So, yeah, this is under, direct sun from the east for the first up until 11 o'clock. Then from say 1:30 in the afternoon, it's directly from the west. So it gets super, super hot. Where is the furrowing stalls going to be? I don't know what a furrowing stall is, Paula. What is that? What's that mean? You mean where they're going to have babies? Mine aren't going to have babies. I'm buying babies, and then I'm going to have them for 6 months, and then they will go to the freezer. My goal on the farm was never to have pets. We have very few pets, and that's kind of we have some pets, but that's at LaLa's wanting, and my daughter's wanting, and my granddaughter's wanting, not mine. But here's the deal, and this is kind of cool. So everybody remembers our last kidding season. We started having babies around third week of December, and everybody remembers Magnus. Remember Magnus? We weathered Magnus because we never. Nunya text on back 20. Evening Petway, thank you. That's nice. My goats got cattle panel. We use a 4x4 goat and sheep panel is what we use in between the 2x6s, and that's what we use for keeping things, keeping the animals in, and that's worked out really, really well. So Magnus was born last kidding season, and he was the runt of his litter, and we were stoked when he was born because we had high hopes from his mama. He was a boar Kiko cross, and just did not do well from the day he was born. So through nothing short of heroic life-saving measures. LaLa saved Magnus's life, and Magnus kind of become the uh, the mascot of LaLa Farm. So he got weathered, and we were going to keep him and just be a companion goat. Well, we sold one of our Nanya text on back 20. I like a working farm. It's so delicious. That's kind of my goal, but we've got a few exceptions. Not because of me, but because of the ladies on the farm. But it's fine. It's worked out well. So Magnus, through heroic measures, was saved, and we had this little Nigerian dwarf that we sold, and they did not have another male or another wether or anything that would be able to spend any time with this little Nigerian dwarf. Well, goats are herd animals. They are not. They're very social. They don't work well in isolation. They'll get very depressed. So we sold. So that little Nigerian dwarf was Jif. JIF, because he came from his mother's Peanut and his sister was Butter. So we named him Jif. So we sold Jif, and they needed a companion goat, so we sold them also Magnus. So Magnus, it's been probably 6 months since we sold Magnus, and this last week we went up to South Georgia, up to a little town called St. George, which is about 25 miles north of us. Up in really, really rural Georgia, and went to the farm who bought Magnus and Jif and got to see him for the first time. And it was pretty cool. He looks really great. And he's in a when we pulled in, there's a fence on the outside road, but it's not closed. Now, we really work hard to keep all of our goats really contained and confined so they don't wander off. Well, Jif nor Magnus is actually in a fence. The gate's open and they're just kind of grazing in the front yard. And I asked Curtis, the fellow who bought them, and he said, these are my buds. If anything happened to these, it would just kill me. And they just walk around. They just never leave the yard. They just kind of stay in the yard grazing and just doing their thing. They follow him around like dogs. So when we pulled in, we got out of the truck and yelled for Magnus's. And as soon as he heard Madeline's voice, his head popped up like I know that voice. Well, Madeline had a mask on. Well, when she took the mask down and he got the kind of a visual of Madeline, he took off like a rocket on rails and literally jumped into her arms. So it was really, really cool to kind of reunite with Magnus. And so that was pretty cool. So who else we got? And we've had some other folks join us. Say, Wendy, Spitfire Red, welcome. Recovering from the crud. So Wendy, I hope you're feeling better soon. Tell them a story earlier. I just don't go nowhere. I drive from my house to my office, and I stay in my truck, and I go through. I just don't go near people. Little Frenchie in Big Texas. Hey Ann, how are you? I think that's all this joins. We got like 14 people in house. So we got talking with the folks who have Jif and Magnus, and come to find out there is about 20 miles from here, they have a corn maze that will start. Brian, Kessel Hives, how are you, sir? They have a corn maze that will start the second week of September and run through the end of October. And Magnus and Jif will be the goat. They're going to be working goats for those 6 weeks of the corn maze, because they will be at this commercial property as the goat representatives for the petting zoo. So where I told the lady who bought them, I said we're going to go up there and check out Magnus and check out Jif while they're up there working. So I'm pretty happy for the owners, and it's just really cool. They just love their goats. But the other funny thing is, as I think I said last week, Madeline will be showing, I think, 3 or 4 shows this year. She's showing in the meat goat class, the dairy class, and the showmanship. And each one of them, different nights. But we're also taking 2 goats up for those 4 shows. And then we're also taking, I think LaLa said, 2 goats up there for 4 goats up there for the petting zoo. So, well, I think we're going to be taking 6 total up there to the fair, 2 for show, and then 4 for in support of the goat petting zoo. So that'll be fun. So we got some that are going to be working up there. So a lot going on. And so what do you think of what do you think? I know Paula said looks great. What do you think of this structure? Would you make any changes to it? I know we got some folks in here that are have do some building around their places, and I'd like to see what your thoughts are. Pafford Homestead needs support. This is from Bomber Steve. Charles has been admitted to hospital with C19 transferred Bay to another hospital. If you can pop over and drop a message of support, Brandy would appreciate it. Absolutely. Why don't pop over there while we're on here, so it's not out of sight, out of mind, and go over there and show Pafford Homestead some support. I'm sure that would be greatly appreciated. Barb's Country Home, welcome. Glad to have you in here. And so that's what's going on here. I don't see any other feedback, good, bad, or indifferent to the drawing. So I guess this is the way that it's going to go. So here's the other thing that kind of really exciting, and it's really one of the things that caused this project to be delayed as long as it was. So I don't know if any of you have gone to Home Depot lately, if you've gone to the hardware store, wherever it is that you get your wood, and looked at wood prices, because Bomber Steve, Pig Home looks great. Rick can't see the installation place for the 50-inch TV though. Huh? Can't see the installation place for their 50. No, they're not getting a 50-inch television. Down on Fella, I'd have my entrances on the peak sides. You'd get wet in the rain on the pitched sides. That's a darn good point. Well, we're going to have. That's a really good point. It's gonna. I'm probably going to keep that on the back, but for the tractor entry, that's going to be on one of the peak sides, under the pitch. That way we can get the roll bar in and out. But that's a good point. I'll have to show that to LaLa, get her thoughts on that. But I don't know that we'll change it, because I kind of like the layout now. But that's that very reason is why we've got it we've got the tractor entrance on the side. So 2 weeks ago, I'm in the middle of a project. Been in the middle of a project for probably 5 weeks of building some cabinets in my workshop. Started them from scratch. I'm about halfway through. The next one was supposed to be done 3 weeks ago, and it's a drawer video. I ran out of material, so I had to go get some more 3/4 inch plywood. So I've been using birch veneer plywood, and that birch veneer plywood, if I needed to buy it, I had 4 sheets out in my garage that were from a project that I did probably 2 years ago. So most of the cabinet project I got done from existing materials, but eventually I ran out when I started building the drawers. I had to go get some more 3/4 ply. It was $80 a sheet, and I said, there's no possible way I'm buying this. So I just waited and waited and waited. That what was $80 a sheet 6 to 8 weeks ago is now $55 a sheet for the same exact material, which is only about $3 to $4 higher than what it was pre-C virus. For whatever reason, whatever your thought process is on why it happened in the first place, that's not what I'm talking about. Just the fact that the prices went up so crazy, so high, and stayed there for a long, long time. Um, was just amazing to me. Steve says, if everyone enjoyed seeing the footage of Bomber Steve going down for the count when I tripped on the Pafford Live, hang on to your hat. More footage from the weekend on the way. So, but I started getting, I had to go get some additional materials last weekend. So, I again went back to the hardware store and, a 2x6x8 6 weeks ago was $22 for one board, which is just an insane price. Pre-C virus, it would cost me between $5 and $6 for that board. So that's almost a fourfold increase. That same board today, 8 weeks ago, remember, it's $22. Now it's about, I think I paid $7.50 for it. So it's within $2 of what it was previously. So I can live with that. And those prices are probably going to continue to drop as inventory stacks up, because now they've overbought and you can't get rid of it. So I'm probably at a really good point to have to buy these materials. And so I'm going to need, I think total on the drawing is like 28 6x6s, because this is not going to be built with 4x4s. It's all 6x6s. And then probably in the neighborhood of 100 2x6, because that's the side rails and all the joists and everything, and they got a 2x6s. So I expected the prices to stay above where they started. Paula, I don't know if they will or they won't. I mean, the prices, what I do know is that the prices are dropping really, really quickly. So they're down within a couple of dollars of where they were pre-C, I'm just going to call it. So who else we got in here? Anyone else? Down under fella, I already got. Wendy says, the Spitfire Red looks good to me, Rick LaLa Farm. Here in Vero, they have dropped crazy low prices. I mean, that's exactly what I'm seeing. I just, for giggles, last time I was out of town, stopped at a Home Depot, and I'm seeing the same thing throughout the entire state. So I'm not sure that they will stay above the pre-C prices. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if they drop below that, simply because they've got a lot of inventory. There's a commercial, they do a lot of trusses and things like that. But last year when you passed this company, which is wide, it's over by the Naval Air Station, there was literally they had no wood in stock because the prices were so high. Now when you pass their facility, they've got, I would say, 24 train cars from still loaded. This is outside of their main yard, probably 24 train cars filled from front to back, top to bottom, with 2x4s and 2x6s and plywood and all the other materials that they use in building trusses. And it ain't moving. So it's not because they've got huge demand. It's because they overbought so much that, I'm convinced that's probably why the prices are coming down so precipitously. Bomber Steve, Paulo Wells, I'm sure, yeah. What are Julianne's reaction as I admit this? I love some of Julianne's reactions to Steve's antics. They kind of make me laugh. Crafty Hobbit says price for wood were crazy out here when I went a week ago. Well, you're out in crazy land anyway, Crafty Hobbit, so that doesn't surprise me. The rest of the non-crazy civilized world, which does not include most of New York, Washington, Portland, California, or Oregon, California, those crazy states, it doesn't surprise me that it's still really, really hot. The normal states, like most of the South, most of the Middle Atlantic states, most of the Midwest. All right, I'm going to stop. So I'm going to get in trouble. Boone Child laughed. That's funny. Nunya text on back 20. I heard ships in Cali are 1 year from unloading. You mean inbound from like overseas? That wouldn't surprise me because it's such a, I think there's probably multiple issues with that out there though. Um, they've got huge union, very, very strong unions out there, and any disagreement with the longshore union out there, or I think out there it's actually Teamsters. You just don't unload ships. Things just go, they just spoil on the ships. Um, Drops, welcome. Um, Down on the fellow, the country's wood producers surely had to run on the edge of bankruptcy in the past 2 years, and nobody really bought unless it was emergency at the price offered. Yeah, I mean, there's so many projects that I was not able to get done, and it's simply because I just was unwilling to pay what the demand was for prices. I mean, it would cost 4 times what it would normally cost to even get like fencing posts. A post that I would spend $5 for to build a fence was costing $25, $30. I mean, how do you can't do that? I mean, it's not that's just insane prices. That's just insane prices. So Crafty Hobbit did not respond to my crazy Washington State comment. I was expecting her to say something snotty back to me. Petway says, laughing my blah, 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 blah. Bomber Steve, I remember those days. Wow. So what was those days? Petway Family Farmstead. Yeah, the camera is the problem. I remember the good old days when I could wipe myself out in private. so now you're there to watch the entire world wipe you out, Steve. Yeah, there's a what you'd say. What did you say? Never mind. If you didn't hear it, you have to go back and watch it. I'll get more play hours if you go back and watch it. Crafty Hobbit. All right. Well, folks, I think I'm going to call this one. I appreciate everyone coming in. I appreciate the feedback on the barn drawing. So kind of what we're going to have, it'll be over the next 8 weeks. At least I'll have the interior part done. I don't know if we'll have the entire thing done by the time the piglets get here, but I expect those probably in the next 8 to 10 weeks is what I'm being told. So I've got to get as much of this done and shade cloth put up as we can so that at least it's functional for that purpose. And then over the winter, it'll go together pretty quickly. It's going to be built just like the buck barn is. And once we got all the posts set, the barn went together super, super quick. So the whole thing will take, it'll probably take me 5 days. So 2.5 to 3 weeks probably to build on the weekends. And then it'll be done. But I'm going to do a time lapse of the post setting so that, because that was one of the big complaints I had with the buck barn is I did not do time lapses of that. And people say, well, how'd you build it? And I really just never videoed that. I just went out there and worked my tail off. So it always takes so much longer to do things when you're videotaping. So if I just set the camera, don't worry about camera angles, just set it there, time lapse it. I won't get perturbed because it's taking me longer. It just kind of gets in the way. So with that said, folks, I am going to bid you all farewell again. Remember, all of our service members around the world, all of our first responders, keep them in your prayers every single day. They are out there fighting the good fight every single day so that you enjoy the freedoms that you have. With that said, always remember, folks, be kind to others. Always treat others as you would like to be treated. That's it, folks. Make sure you tune in on Friday. You're going to see them 13 little bundles of joy and kind of our introduction to piglets. So be well, take care, everybody, and good night.